So, is it time to come back to the manga reviews proper? Well, not quite yet, my friends. What's going on with this tome, I hear you say, if you've been out in the cold for the last few months? It's simply retelling the superhero movie, this manga, because the movie it's based on didn't do so well in Japan, and they most likely felt the need to convert it to drawn form so that as many eyeballs see the story as possible. Despite the fact that everyone in the rest of the world loves it, and Superhero has now surpassed Broly's global box office takings, and is now the most profitable Dragon Ball movie in history. But who cares about international audiences, eh? Japan comes first, and as far as they're concerned, it's a failure. Ugh. In any case, what we shall do is go through chapter 93 and give you the basic summary as to what the chapter covers, as it can also give us a guess as to when this bizarre affair will actually end and when we can actually get to a properly original story. So for starters, we basically see the tail end of the Broly Goku fight, so at least that's there, and whether or not his scar's actually intact, nobody knows. Vegeta then meditates for a bit, and Goku still thinks it's weird and actually kind of doubles down on it, which is really bizarre. The battle between Goku and Vegeta begins, which was actually a highlight of the movie, even though we barely saw any of it. And not to mention Toyotaro gets to go ham on it, which is always very nice. Piccolo wishes on Shenron to unlock his potential and become the ultimate Pickle, and then Piccolo then heads on to get Pan to kidnap her, not actually, and get Gohan back into fighting again. Hence why the chapter is actually called Operation Pan. Hey, at least some creativity with the chapter names is involved again. Okay, that was it. According to DBS Chronicles, we're effectively at the 48-minute, 35-second mark of the movie, and the movie is about 100 minutes long, so we're nearly halfway there. So maybe September's chapter 97 might be a new story with Black Frieza finally after being left out hanging for about a year? Or maybe Toyotaro's a bit tired and needs another break. Anyway. Let's talk about the things that are different, okay? So if you don't remember the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, then don't worry, because we basically get a very truncated flashback of the Broly movie itself, without the actual flashback to the Saiyan heritage thing with Bardock and Gine, because technically that's Dragon Ball minus? And besides, we kind of need it since there might be some people who still supposedly haven't seen the movie and have only had that one singular image from that one chapter a while back to actually get a feeling as to who Broly actually is. A highlight of this flashback, because it's pretty pedestrian, is that we get this face from Paragus when he gets beamed, but at the cost of this gem from the anime movie. I'm sorry. This is just a classic thing. We don't get Frieza being overly dramatic, you know, the whole Broly, oh no. Overall, this flashback is pretty fine, I suppose. It pretty much gets the idea of what to expect from Dragon Ball Super Broly. It's just that he got caught by Frieza, he got sent out against Goku and Vegeta, and now he's friends with them. So there you go. And it gets Cheelai and Lemo into the story. Then we get Vegeta's elaboration on meditating, and it's actually kind of fascinating in a way. In the Dragon Ball Super superhero movie, I didn't really pay it much mind. It was just, he was doing his thing, and Goku then said, "Why are you meditating? That's kind of dumb." Whilst Goku still kind of does it here, Vegeta goes into a little bit more detail, and we're now actually starting to see something that I didn't see before when I watched the movie. It's because we're seeing a role reversal from Dragon Ball Z. Have you ever wondered why Goku is a little bit weird in Dragon Ball Super? Well, I kind of get the feeling is the archetype of Z Goku is now being put into Vegeta. Vegeta is now acting more like Z Goku than Goku is himself. Throughout Dragon Ball Z, Vegeta was always playing catch up to Goku, always having to pay attention and learn what the Saiyan was actually doing, taking everything in. And even though he didn't actually like it, and we didn't actually see him embrace it at the time, throughout Vegeta's character progression, we slowly started to see him accept who he was and accept who he was part of in terms of the Dragon Team, and ultimately become the sort of stoic, heroic figure that we saw in the Buu saga, with Goku acting like a really, really major badass, especially with the Supreme Kai. That was kind of crazy. But now, we're starting to see Vegeta being a little bit more subdued and a little bit more mellow or something like that. Vegeta is adapting to convention, and now Goku's kind of doing the opposite. He's slowly kind of drifting away from all the stuff that Kami had taught him on the lookout about meditating, concentration, all of that stuff. It just feels like Goku's forgetting everything that he learned on those 3 years up on the lookout. Oh my goodness, I'm glad that Kami's not a major part of Piccolo's subconscious now, because otherwise he'd be just rolling in his brain or something like that. It's just really strange to see Goku just acting this bizarre. But then again, we got Vegeta acting all stoic and actually kinda cool without actually having to do anything. And the major part of the role reversal is that Goku's now listening to what Vegeta is doing and taking it on board and sort of paying it mind, but most likely, unlike that time, Goku's probably going to ignore it and just keep on doing his thing, with Whis just condescending and going, "Well done, Vegeta, you came up with that on your own. Oh, you Saiyans are so smart." Beerus, sure enough, does actually crush on Cheelai like in the original, but this time it actually comes across as a little bit more creepy. Because I don't remember Beerus saying cutie in the movie. All we see is that they lock eyes, he has a ugh, and then he just says that they can stay. Whereas now he just goes, "Oh, cutie." Who's betting that in a few months' time we might just eventually get a whole "Hey Broly"? OGs of the Round Table live streams will get that. But hey, at least it means that Cheelai and Lemmo can stay, and they're actually doing something in this manga that's a little bit constructive to make sure that Beerus lets Broly stay on his planet and stuff. Then Dende goes on to elaborate that he can't unlock potential himself like Guru can, because he's too young to do that. But he can upgrade the Dragon Balls, by pouring water on, which we already knew. And I guess this is slightly new lore, that unlocking potential is not something that Guardian Kais or something like that have from birth, is that it's just something that they gain as they age? Or it's something that completely was mentioned in the movie and I completely forgot about it, which, mind you, could easily happen, but I've been reminded about it and I actually find that's a neat little tidbit. It's actually a shame though that Piccolo's descent from the Lookout to Capsule Corp as he swoops around in the air isn't translated all that well in the manga from the movie, but hey, the movie version was epic. The soundtrack was great, the visuals were great, the camera movements were fantastic. I mean, that was one of the highlights in the movie in terms of a technical showcase. Then we get to the Goku and Vegeta fight, and now Whis is actually contemplating about making this a bit of a three-way. Stop it! With Broly potentially fighting Goku and Vegeta at the same time. But then Goku obviously says that, "Yeah, this guy's a bit of a loose cannon, I don't want your planet to blow up." And then Broly's just like, me? And then Whis kind of goes along with it, and then we get the Goku Vegeta fight, almost panel for panel to what we see in the actual movie, so that must have been an easy time for Toyotaro at the very least. But hey, Broly then goes on to watch the fight with a little bit more gusto than I remember from the movie. There, he was just calmly watching, not really showing any smiles or getting really into the spirit of it. Of course, he did at the end of it, but now it's starting to become more and more obvious that he's actually enjoying it, which is kind of nice because I really get the feeling that if we just saw Broly going, "Oh, I don't really like fighting," all the time, if that was going to be a common trait of his, that would get tired very, very quickly. Now, okay, here's a really big thing, and one of that is not Bulma's backside, because even though it said that she had a lift of that area, you don't really see it. So Toyotaro isn't one for fan service, I'm afraid, so you're lucking out there. But we then get to actually, I realized what I just said there, no pun intended. We then actually get a callback to chapters 88 and 90. You know, the last bit of the actual superhero arc that had original narrative, where Trunks is watching on Piccolo and Bulma getting all the wishes and stuff, and is planning to bring the Saiyaman X gear to the potential fight with Piccolo and Gohan and all of that stuff. So we might actually get to see the Saiyamen back again, and they're now defying their mothers, and they're not being grounded, and they're actually going to get to do stuff. After that really, really bad thing of like, oh, they got grounded so they can't do it anymore. Oh my god, that was so bad. No wonder Chapter 91 was a complete disaster. But hey, at least we're now starting to see the likes of Trunks and Goten now back in it, and Saiyaman X being back in it. Oh, this is actually making me think. Are we going to see them in the gear, and then Gammas 1 and 2 will see them and think, whoa, those are really cool. Oh, these are our progenitors, and they might actually worship the Saiyaman as their biggest fans. That would be so funny. But yeah, this is actually kind of neat. It's tying into the earlier parts, so at least there's some connection, so that's something. But all in all, this chapter was a little bit more bearable to actually take because it showed some original stuff. It was actually somewhat okay, and it added some things which were kind of interesting. Some of it was quite subtle, but the whole bringing in of Trunks and Goten again with the Saiyaman costumes, is a nice little callback to the high school days, and it was something that was relatively interesting. Instead of just like Chapter 91's copy-paste motif, Chapter 92 is okay. This is probably the most bearable chapter yet because it actually has some original stuff, and it's actually kind of okay. Mostly it's lore-based, but hey, okay. It would have been really interesting to see Goku, Broly, and Vegeta fighting each other at the same time, but yeah, I guess that might have been a little bit too much for what we're about to expect in the next few chapters. But hey ho, that was that really. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and I'll see you next month.